Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the T-34 747R, or as most people call it, the German T-34. This is a currently rank 3 battle rating 4.3 premium medium tank in the German Ground Forces tech tree that costs 2,460 Golden Eagles and comes with 10 backups. In this review, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about this tank, including its stats, how it plays, its strengths and weaknesses. I'll give some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation on if I feel this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. As always, please consider subscribing if you'd like more content like this, as I always greatly appreciate it. But with that said, let's get into the review. Now to start, I'll place its stats here on the side of the screen. Important things to note are its speed, turret traverse rate, and its armor. Now for how it plays. In short, the German T-34 is pretty much like the T-34 STZ, but with even more armor and a better turret design. Because of this, the German T-34 can essentially be thought of as your standard mid-BR T-34, except with better survivability, without sacrificing for speed. Because of this, it is still incredibly mobile, can take many hits without receiving any damage, and can still kill most enemies with a single shot, largely due to the extremely high levels of explosive filler in the decently penning BR-350 shells. These shells, however, have lower than 100mm of armor pen at 4.3 BR, which is acceptable at its BR and in a down tier, but can be rough in up tiers and when firing at a range. Because of this, you will either need to know enemy weak spots or to take full advantage of your superior mobility when in an up tier in order to be in a better position to attack enemy side armor. Ultimately, however, using this vehicle makes it quite apparent that the T-34 is the granddaddy of the main battle tank, as it can pretty much do anything that you want, even more so for the German T-34, as it again has better survivability without sacrificing speed. That excellent survivability is probably the most apparent strength of this vehicle, as proper angling and an opponent that doesn't know your weak spots will allow you to survive dozens of hits from the front with relative ease, of which is a feat typically only possible with heavy tanks that weigh substantially more than this T-34. Really, the only partial letdown is the F-34 cannon, which only seems mediocre in comparison to the outstanding speed and survivability of this vehicle. In truth, the cannon is actually pretty decent and is totally workable, especially in close range and with a knowledgeable player firing it. Even though it can't pen nearly as much as the long 75mm on a late model Panzer IV, the F-34 cannon on the German T-34 still has enough punch to get through pretty much any tank that it faces when playing intelligently. By the way, I have a series on tank weak spots, so you may want to check it out, though it is a touch old, so I may sound a little bit different. With that being said, for strengths and weaknesses. For strengths, this vehicle has excellent mobility, with it nearing the mobility of light tanks. Second, it has surprisingly good frontal armor, doubly so if you angle. Further, the side armor is largely bolstered by the addition of tracks to the hull. By the way, I have an angling guide which, while somewhat old, should help you to maximize the German T-34 if you decide to pick this vehicle up. For its third strength, it can have up to 25 degrees per second of turret traverse, which is excellent at this BR. Fourth, the BR-350A and B shells both have over 100 grams of explosive filler, which means that successful pens will often destroy the enemy tank. Beyond this, it has access to APCR shells, which can pen over 120mm of armor. For its sixth strength, in my experience at least, down tiers are fairly common with the German T-34. And finally, this has premium RP and SL bonuses. Now for its weaknesses. It has a relatively average armament, though it can be lacking in up tiers and when firing long range, especially at heavily armored targets. Second, while the frontal hull armor is excellent, the turret armor, especially to the sides of the cannon, can be easily penned. It is a common shot for knowledgeable players to make. For its third weakness, it has a poor cannon depression of only 5 degrees. Fourth, it has an interior that is cramped, meaning that successful pens against the German T-34 will often result in crew kills. This weakness is present in essentially every T-34. And finally, it has a large and weak turret ring, which is a huge weakness from any angle. Now with that being said, for how I score this vehicle. First, for armament, I give it a 5.75 out of 10. While certainly usable, with some people saying that it's great, the German T-34's armament is likely the least good of its main traits. It has excellent post-pen damage, but may struggle to get through the armor of some enemies, such as Churchills and some tank destroyers, especially at a range. Otherwise, once you get a pen, which you should be able to do, especially if you know the enemy's weak spots, you will achieve more one-hit kills than you might expect, due to the excellent explosive filler in the BR-350 shells. Again, it's not that this cannot pen, because it certainly can. It's that you will be substantially better with this vehicle if you learn the weak spots of common enemies that it might face, as the penetration margins on it are fairly small relative to other vehicles at and around this BR. Even despite the aforementioned flaws, I still managed to average 3+ kills per match with this vehicle while playing very aggressively, so I may actually be underrating its armament by giving it a 5.75 out of 10. But that said, for mobility, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Relative to medium tanks at this BR, the German T-34 is among the top in terms of mobility. Heck, as mentioned earlier, it is fast enough to be able to keep up with many light tanks. This allows for you to be able to base cap and flank extremely effectively with this vehicle. This also helps to increase the effectiveness of the armament by allowing you to be able to perform more side shots than comparable tanks. Now for survivability, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. The frontal hull armor is a huge shell sponge with additional armor plating on it, as well as the thick driver's hatch made of pure stalinium. It is also very well angled. Couple this with the additional track armor on the side of the vehicle, and the German T-34 is quite survivable. The main downsides to this vehicle, however, are that it retains the same relatively large weak spots around the cannon on the turret, as well as a large turret ring itself. Further, the crew is cramped and is sitting on even more cramped fuel and ammo, leading to this being a death trap should a shell pen. Now that said, overall, I give this a 7 out of 10. Overall, the German T-34 is an excellent package. While sometimes not having enough armor pen to get through some of the toughest enemies that it will face, the German T-34 should still be able to outflank said enemies, or at least be able to take a few shots from the front and survive, due to the excellent mobility and survivability respectively. This is a great vehicle, and despite seeing some BR increases over the years, it is still extremely effective and is one of the best medium tanks at its BR. Now that said, do I recommend the T-34 747R Rusik? Yes, I do. Even at 4.3 BR, and with what might initially seem to be like a decent at best armament, the German T-34 is still one of the best medium tanks in the game at its BR bracket. It can flank and frontline as well, which are typically exclusive traits in a tank. Rarely is a vehicle both survivable and mobile, but the German T-34 does that, along with having a fairly decent armament to boot. At a cost of 2,460 Golden Eagles, or about $16.50 USD, the German T-34 doesn't even cost a ton, which places it well into the category of a bargain, especially when on sale. Further, this is a rank 3 vehicle, meaning that it will be able to be used for completing events and miscellaneous tasks. Plus, it can help to grind through rank 4 of the German ground tech tree, which is fantastic. In all, the German T-34 is, in my opinion, a must-have vehicle, especially if you can get it on sale. It's one of the best vehicles at its BR in the entire game and can be used to reliably grind RP and SL, as well as being able to participate in events. Because of that, I give the German T-34 my full recommendation, as well as my Tankenstein seal of approval. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And also, please let me know what you think about the German T-34 in the comments below. Either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.